Even though we know that nothing can last forever, we often forget it when we're watching our favorite athletes. These guys are on top of the sporting world for years and years, so when the day comes that they announce their retirement and end their careers, we can't help but just shed a few tears. I'm Justin Fraction, and today we dive into the 10 most heartbreaking sports retirements ever. And a huge shout out and thank you to Erasmus O Politiki for suggesting this list. We do hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, feel free to click subscribe down below for more cool videos every single day. Number 10, David Ortiz. Big Papi announced before the 2016 MLB season that it would be his last, and we'll always wonder why to this day. Ortiz clubbed 38 home runs and 127 RBIs in his farewell season, guiding the Boston Red Sox to the AL East title. But when the Cleveland Indians swept his Red Sox in the ALDS, it was easy to tear up as Papi walked out, cried, and waved goodbye to Boston. Ortiz was one of the top sluggers of his era, and one of the very few who didn't juice up, we think. But once Cleveland recorded that final out, it was time for us to thank him for his great career and respect his decision to retire while he still had it. Number 9, Sandy Koufax. One of the most dominant pitchers ever, Koufax led the Dodgers franchise to 4 World Series championships and took home 3 Cy Young Awards. Koufax racked up 2,396 career strikeouts to go along with his 165 wins. But Koufax was forced to retire at the age of 30 while still in his prime, as he suffered from arthritis in his left throwing elbow. Koufax revolutionized the game of baseball with his slick pitching style and dominance, and to have to retire so early from an injury left the Dodgers and MLB fans of the 60s in shock and despair. Number 8, Kobe Bryant. Bryant launched the LA Lakers and NBA into a new era during the 21st century. He won 5 NBA championships and put on a show every day for 20 years. He was such a joy to watch on the court. Everyone was watching to see if Kobe would match MJ's 6 championship rings, but injuries and age prevented that from happening. Kobe announced that he would retire after the 2015-16 campaign. Well, it was nice to see him score 60 points in his final game. But while you 70s and 80s kids grew up watching MJ, the 90s and 2000s kids were treated to Kobe, and it sure was tough to see him walk away, especially on such a bad Lakers team. Number 7, Derek Jeter. Well, this guy Jeter was quite the franchise cornerstone of the New York Yankees. 14 All-Star games, 5 World Series championships, and 3,465 career hits. Jeter was the heart and soul leader of the Yankees for 20 seasons, and it was more than difficult to see him hang up the cleats in 2014. Yes, he was 40 years of age and battled multiple injuries, but it's Jeter. Even though everyone hates the Yankees, everyone loved Jeter. Number 6, BJORN BORG. BORG could undoubtedly be the best tennis player if he didn't retire so early, and yet he chose to do so at the age of 26. This was despite winning 11 Grand Slams, including 5 Wimbledon championships. But BORG retired with so much gas left in his tank, saying he lost the desire to play tennis and all the fame and pressure became too much. His career rival John McEnroe even asked BORG to come back, but to no avail. All this time later, we're still saddened by his retirement. There were way too many Grand Slam wins he left on the table. Number 5, Peyton Manning. I mean, it's nice to go out as a Super Bowl champion and all. And let's not forget that the Sheriff was 40 years of age and had endured more than enough injuries over the last few years. So everyone knew he was retiring after he won his 2nd Lombardi Trophy with the Denver Broncos. But it still sucked to watch his retirement speech. The 5-time league MVP was one of the greatest pocket passers ever. He was also a class act off the field and was so lovable with all those hilarious commercials. And his rivalry with Tom Brady, there'll be nothing like it again. We still miss you, Manning. Number 4, Michael Jordan first retirement. Jordan retired 3 times throughout his career, but the first one was entirely unexpected and came because of tragedy. Following his 3rd championship victory with the Chicago Bulls in 1993, Jordan retired saying he lost his desire for basketball and was grieving the death of his father, James Jordan Sr., who was shot and killed while sleeping in his car. Jordan popularized the game of basketball in the 80s and 90s. He was the reason many of us started watching basketball. So when he retired for the first time, the NBA and its fans were devastated. Of course, he came back 2 years later, so it's all good. Number 3, Barry Sanders. Here sits a former NFL MVP who rushed for 1,000 yards in each of his 10 NFL seasons. Everyone loved watching Sanders, who would have set every meaningful running back record if he didn't retire, and saddened us all by doing so. Why? Well, it's not complicated. He was still in his prime and was arguably the most dominant player to ever play the position. Sanders retired with so much left in him that he never gave a valid reason why he chose to walk away at the age of 30. Number 2, Magic Johnson. If there was anything close to Michael Jordan before LeBron James arrived, it was the other MJ, Magic Johnson. He was the leader of the Showtime Lakers that won 5 NBA championships in the 80s. Johnson took home 3 league MVPs and revolutionized the point guard position, averaging 19.5 points per game in his career. But early in the 1991-92 season, Johnson shocked the world when he announced that he had HIV. and immediately retired from basketball. Johnson did come back for the 1995-96 season, but he was past his prime at that point. Having to retire from contracting an illness was devastating for Johnson, the NBA, and its fans. We're very fortunate that he's managed to fight through it all these years later, though. And number 1, Lou Gehrig. I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth. Those were the words spoken by Lou Gehrig, the iconic New York Yankees first baseman who was forced to retire due to ALS. The Iron Horse was often overshadowed by teammate Babe Ruth, but Gehrig was a 2-time American League MVP and led the Yankees to 6 World Series championships. Unfortunately, in the middle of his prime, the illness more commonly known today as Lou Gehrig's disease forced the legend to retire. Though he gave one of the most heartwarming speeches ever to Yankees fans, it was still incredibly sad to see this man retire because of a disease that would end his life at the age of 37. Who do you think is the saddest sports retirement ever? Join us in the comments section below. If you liked this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps us out a ton and we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to Total Pro Sports though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.